Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Show, where we interview global thought leaders on business, leadership, and life. Here's your host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and chief burnout officer of the Breakfast Leadership Network, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I got Frank Agin online. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate this, Michael.
No, I'm looking forward to this too. And I know we've chatted a few times over the last couple of years and finally got you on the show. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation about networking. And I know we mentioned in the pre-show talking about during this pandemic that this is an interesting time for all of us that are in the networking type of business and everything like that. So share a little bit about you, your background, the organization you're with, and some of the things you've been observing over these past few months.
Yeah, I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm not from here. I guess I should say I'm from here. I moved here 36 years ago to go to law school and got a law degree and an MBA and went into a big firm to be a tax consultant. And I tell people it was a great job, great prestige, great pay. I just didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life. And so that led me after 6.5 years, which will tell you I'm slow but not stupid, to leaving and going into private practice. And I just figured, well, that'd be the best thing for me. I was entrepreneurial, and that just seemed like the next best step. But I tell people that a funny thing happened to me when I went into private practice. And the funny thing was that nothing happened. I had no idea how to get clients. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to that, either in the past or even currently. I just struggled. And it's being an attorney is an added layer of difficulty because you're really not supposed to advertise. There's just certain things you can do and can't do, be that as it may. So I struggled for about a month. And I had lunch one day with a friend of mine who is an attorney. And she said, I was just asking her, what do I need to do to be successful? I don't want to fail. And she said, you need to get into a tips club or a leads group. Well, she led me into an organization and through a series of calls that was starting a brand new chapter, group of entrepreneurs, sales reps, and professionals that met every week to learn about each other and exchange referrals. It wasn't BNI, very similar to BNI. If people are familiar with BNI, I'll throw that out there, but it was very similar. But Michael, it immediately made sense because I could lift my world up by helping other people become successful. I mean, I could talk about you all day and how wonderful you are, and at the end of the day, be energized by that. I've done something great, and talk about myself, self-promote for 15 minutes, and I'm exhausted. So I got involved in this organization, became its first president, became its first franchisee. There's a whole story there we'll skip over. And then back in the early 2000s, I bought it out and made the decision to stop practicing law. I really wanted to be on this quest, this mission or crusade to help people become more successful through their professional relationships. And that's led me into writing a number of books and starting a podcast and articles and eventually running into you. So it's really kind of been a neat journey.
It's been an amazing journey so far. And, the work that you've done and are doing is instrumental in referrals and connecting people with the intent to connect people. And then where that goes is between those people. But having that, in a way, I look at it as a superpower. Yes, a lot of us can do it, but there are people in this world like yourself where it's different. You're able to do it in such a way because there's an element of you in the giving and the caring and nurturing and understanding the people that you're introducing to each other. Things about each of them, and you're like, this actually would make a really good potential for a business or a venture or who knows what, or just it would be good for that person to know that person. And being able to see that is a wonderful gift because that's how things move, and that from finding a job or landing new clients or growing your business or learning how to do something different that you want to do with your business, especially during a pandemic right now. I'm sure there's a lot of organizations that have had to learn how to do something different because the way we were doing things in many instances, we haven't been able to continue doing things that way right now. And potentially some organizations may never return to doing business the way that they did. It's a new venture. But having those referrals and that network of people that they know, somebody knows somebody that can be able to guide those organizations. So it's not I have to recreate everything. It's been done somewhere. How can we implement this and do something better?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There is a knack to making introductions. There is a knack to this networking. Most people wander through life, through their professional lives, and they look for their opportunities. Hey, I need a little of this. I need a little of that. I'll take a little bit of this. These are things that are important to me. And what I try to tell people, and this, develop that habit of looking at everything as an opportunity. It might not be an opportunity for you, but it's an opportunity for somebody else. And if you're willing to pick that up, figuratively speaking, pick that up and hand it to whomever that works for, you're going to be on their radar. And eventually they're going to return that, or return the deed, or maybe they don't, but you put karma out in the world. You throw that term out. You put karma out in the world and it will come back to you. I don't know when or how, but it will. It always does. It's a neat thing to know those things are out there.
A colleague of mine who's in the networking business as well, her and another gentleman that they've been referring things to each other for a very long time, and they were looking for opportunities to work together, but nothing really lined up until about 7 years later. Something came up where it worked out that this was a project that they could both work on, but they kept at it. They're thinking there's nothing there yet, but maybe someday. In 7 years, that's, or as long as this pandemic has felt, 7 years, it's a long drawn out thing, but they knew, they both sense it's like, there's something there. It's not here yet. We don't know where it is. And that, again, with people that I meet and refer to and understand what they're doing, when I'm talking with somebody, I'll ask them, okay, what's going on? How are things with business life, and anything that you're struggling with, or that I can help with, or maybe I know somebody and they'll say something, and then the Rolodex, to date myself, in my head will go, okay, and then of course I go to my CRM or on LinkedIn and I go, okay, I know somebody that does this, and help them out. A few months ago, in the middle of the pandemic, there was somebody that was a marketing director for an organization, and when the pandemic hit, they lost their job, unfortunately. And I just met somebody in that particular area that was looking for different types of roles. So I reached out to them and I said, any marketing director opportunities? And I said, yeah, we actually need a really good one where we've been looking, not having a lot of success. So I made the introduction and it worked out.
And you have two people that love you at that point, right?
Exactly. I'm waiting for my birthday gift still. No, I don't do that for that. I do that because it makes the world better.
Right.
And in using, when you said karma before, it flows back to me. I don't even want to measure how much more it flows back. I don't want to necessarily quantify, but I know in sense that it comes back to me a lot larger. It's like, okay, I'm handing somebody $1 and all of a sudden I've got a briefcase full of money type of thing. I wish that was the interest rate, but interest rate, for those of people that don't understand, is used to be able to get interest on the money that you saved or banked or invested, and right now it's this. But there's other ways to make money, but just not that right now. But long story short, when you go into it, and anybody that is thinking about networking and they really haven't done it before, and I know you believe this too, it's like, don't go in it to get, go in it to give. And when you do that, what you receive is amazing. One, just the feeling of, wow, I just helped somebody find a great employee. I just found somebody that lost their job during this pandemic with a new job. And all I did was say, hey, you two talk, and stepped away from it. And it's just an amazing feeling to be able to do that, and to be able to do it time and time again in a variety of different things. It's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I tell people, because when you help people, their natural inclination is, well, what can I do for you? And I just tell people, so I don't live in a quid pro quo world. I'm not keeping score. And I think people who do, it becomes very stressful for them because they're trying to account for stuff, and you can't, because you refer something to me, I might refer something back to you that is of no value to me, but just immense value to you. So you can't keep track of it all, with the exchange is. And like you said, it might be 5 years from now. Hey, here's a great opportunity for you. You'll take it then. You need money then like you need money now.
Yeah, it just flows like a river, and you just continually add to it and go about it, and you'll find where the river will rise a little bit some months and some years, and sometimes starting to see some of those lower rocks in the river. Okay, what do I need to do to address that? And it's just being agile and being aware of what your customers need, what the work you're doing, being in the right place at the time that demand is needed and what you offer. And that means shifting gears and doing something a little bit different, like I did this year with more speaking opportunities and talking in front of organizations and less of the one-on-one type of stuff. And, it's turned out perfectly because I recognize that's what the market needed and made that shift. And a lot of people, especially during this pandemic, some of them have kind of been frozen, and they're like, well, we can't go to those in-person meetings. Well, there's Zoom, there's phone calls. We're not in the same room together, but we're in the same virtual room together. Yeah. And it's, don't let that technology be a barrier to you to do things, because we don't know when this pandemic will finish. So as a business owner, you have to make sure that you are where your customers need you to be and offering them what they need. And the same thing with finding out what other people are looking for and needing. And it's the same process, but the delivery might be a little bit different. But it's just being agile and being open and continuing growing, I think, is the biggest thing.
Well, you said something, it may have been in the pre-show or maybe early on in this program, that Zoom has opened doors that you didn't know existed. And I've used that exact phrase because it is so true. Running into people and being connected to people who do things that you didn't know were out there, that you can add value to, that can add value to other people. It's just, it's energizing. It gets me up every morning. It's like, it's like Christmas morning. What do I get to open this morning? There's something there. I don't know what it is. What I tell people, as far as is getting started with respect to networking, is find something you're passionate about and get out there and volunteer, because you're going to be with people who care about the same thing you care about. You're going to be with you're going to brand yourself as somebody who's a giver, and you don't ever even really have to say what you do. People will figure it out. Wow, you're really involved. What is it you do? And even the people who aren't involved in that particular charity or whatever initiative it might be a community project or something like that, who see you involved, are just going to kind of know you as someone who adds value to others. And that really has a huge carryover effect throughout the business community, or however you want to define that.
And when you're gathered with like-minded people and you see things in the same way, when opportunities come up, they know, all right, I'm not necessarily the right person for this particular opportunity, but I know Frank is, or I know Sam is, or Jill is, because they've worked in this sector more than I have, or might be, quite frankly, a sector that you don't like working in. There's certain sectors, and especially with the work that I do, unfortunately, burnout doesn't care what sector you're in, it's going to hit. But there are certain sectors that I don't necessarily shy away from, but I go, okay, what are the parameters here? Because it's just not a sector that I particularly like working in. But that's when having other people that do the type of work that I do, I refer things to them. Say, sure. Hey, you like this? And they love that sector. I'm like, all yours. Good luck with it. It's like enjoy that roller coaster. Let me know how it goes, because a pessimist is an optimist with experience. Okay, it's one of my favorite quotes from the late Pistons head coach Chuck Daly. And I'm not a negative person by any stretch, but I just love that analogy, because sometimes like, oh, here we go again. But
we don't connect with everybody, right? I mean, we can't connect with everybody. So there'll be people who we connect with, and it all works out. And then there'll be people who just, don't connect with us for whatever reason. It might be gender, it might be politics, it might be a lot of things. And that's all okay, as long as we're respectful about it, certainly. But, I've done the same thing. It's just like, this is not my thing, right? You're 2 hours closer than I am. You can drive. I'd have to fly. Why don't you take that opportunity? I'll do something else. And again, it's just, it comes back to you. It's just all a matter of, it's all a matter of getting people to know you, like you, and trust you.
Yep. And when that happens, it just opens up more doors. So in this pandemic, what have you seen work in the space that you're in, that is, helping people continue to do the work that you do as far as referrals and networking? What have been some of the pivoting? I mean, obviously we know Zoom has been a big part of it, but has there been anything else that you've observed that has kind of changed the dynamic of, referrals and meeting new clients and things like that?
Well, I mean, Zoom is technology. Zoom is, I've been on everything. Everybody's using different things. There's Teams, there's Zoom, there's WebEx. I was on some guy's kid's Dungeon and Dragon account. He was conducting a meeting on there. It works. And that is the big thing, because it's really gotten people to think in a whole different way. I'll give you an example. There's an attorney in my organization who, when this first came down, I think there were a lot of people, me included, hey, let's give this 3 weeks and it'll pass. And obviously it's, we're 6 months in now, or plus, by the time this is coming out. And I don't want to say there's no end in sight, because there is an end in sight. It will end. But 3 weeks in, people are like, well, we'll just kind of let this pass. And that was his mindset. You know what? I don't want to get on Zoom. I just don't. And through my organization, he was kind of, not forced into it, but it's like, come on, Tom, you got to do this. And he did. And it really kind of opened his eyes to, what, this works. You and I have never met face to face. We've certainly had conversations and emails and whatnot. But if you and I were to meet, it would almost feel like we've met before because of this Zoom call. I don't know how tall you are. I don't know any of that stuff, but it doesn't matter. And so he realized that as an attorney, and he said, you know what, this is really kind of a game changer for me, because I spend a lot of time hustling people in and out of my office, and you got to kind of coordinate that, who's going to be there. And I can handle a lot more things using Zoom. So that was certainly something that was done. That, a lot of people have been able to, early on, like the massage therapists, they were out of business, not out of business, but they were kind of down. But some of them got creative in selling gift certificates just to kind of keep cash flow. People need massages. They know they're going to need massages. And then, going to great lengths to make people feel comfortable with respect to that. I had a florist who, when this started to come down and weddings were being postponed, he had coolers full of flowers. He literally went out on the street and gave them away, just gave little bouquets to people with his card on it, and that people remember those things. But, he's got one of two choices. He can give them away, or they can go bad. And he's like, I'm not going to let them go bad. I'm going to figure it out. And so there are people who are adapting in those sorts of ways. Certainly technology people have really taken advantage of this in providing programs to educate people on how to do these sorts of things. And what we do, podcasting, or being on Zoom is really not that expensive. And a lot of people that's kind of a barrier or a perceived barrier. Oh, I don't want to invest in all that equipment. And this technology person just did a little seminar showing people, listen, here's what you need. You can literally go on Amazon or Best Buy or wherever you want to go and pick this stuff up for decent equipment, not great equipment, for, $100, $150. Microphone, headset, all the, kind of walk them through it, get a decent camera. And I think a lot of people have, kind of taken that to heart. How do I want to show up in this pandemic? Do I call it the COVID look, right? I mean, I think early on people were like, oh, geez, I'm stuck at home. It's like, do you really want to be that way? Or do you want to, get up, get showered, get shaved? Imagine you're going to be meeting with $1 million client, because you might be. And don't give us this, oh, woe is me look, because everybody's going through it. So there've been a lot of neat little stories where people are conquering. And that's why I love the small business world, because they knew from the get-go, nobody was going to rescue them, right? We better start swimming. Nobody's coming to rescue us.
Yeah, and it was smart for those that said, okay, we have to, and I like using this phrase, make my own economy, and not rely on, and not to get political, not to rely on stimulus packages or bailouts or things like that, because even when they get improved, it takes a long time for those things to come through. It's like, take initiative and do things now, because I'll tell you what, as a business owner, it's one of those things where when you say, I don't need that, thank you. Right. It is an amazing feeling. And I've been on the other side of that equation before in life, and it's not fun being there. So I know what it feels like. But the massage therapists that, are sending out gift cards, and that is a business. And I mentioned this a few times on my show, is with everybody working from home, especially those that have not worked from home before, my biggest concern is, a lot of people are going to need massage therapy because they're not working in an ergonomic setting like they used to in their office. Right. So there's going to be a lot of neck issues, eye strain, all kinds of other things that people are going to need to be addressed. So massage therapists, rest up, because you're going to be busy for quite a long time. Yeah. But again, these are, like you said earlier, you look for the opportunities. Like, okay, what are some opportunities here with this pandemic that I can do to help small businesses or anybody else, and do that? Because during any type of crisis, look for the helpers. Where are they? Who are they? What are they doing? Because that's from investment standpoint, if you're into stocks, or in looking for types of businesses, if you're unemployed, to look, okay, what are some roles that are in demand right now? Get the training to do that. There's so much online training now. You can get certified on things, and organizations are so desperate to hire people to do those roles. If you come in with an expertise and understanding of how to do the role, they're going to hire you, and who knows, it could spin off and be your career for the next decade or two. So it's look for those opportunities, and not I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, figure it out. Because don't expect a bailout. Don't expect the safety boat to pull up and say hop in. Could it get there? Sure. Do I want to wait for it? No. Yeah. But of course, that's my way. It's like figuring out, okay, I got to figure this out. There's not going to be an opportunity to say, okay, the government's going to take care of me. No, don't rely on that. As a business owner or as an individual, there's opportunities out there, even in a pandemic. Go find them, do whatever you need to do to get them. You'll be better off for it, and then you won't be so dependent on everything else. You'll be making your own economy, and when you can do that, it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, you do need to stop and look and just say, okay, what are the opportunities? How can I better myself? Talking to somebody, it's a horrible time to be looking for a job. New grads. I was talking to one young woman, and she's just takes every day, gets on Google and gets certified in this or gets certified in that, just finding things to try and be better and better. And I tell her, I say, eventually it's going to hit. Eventually, you're going to have your skill sets are going to rise to the point where somebody has a need, and you'll be better off. So just keep doing it. It's like real estate. Eventually every house sells, right? Eventually somebody's going to hire you, and so you want to come in with your best self. And so, just take those opportunities. Maybe it's a foreign language, whatever it might be, but now's the opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and a lot of people refer to this time as the Great Reset. For some people, that's what they've needed to do. They need to hit that reset button and go, okay, now, how do I want to design my business? What do I want to work on? How do I want my life to look? What are my relationships like? There's so many opportunities right now, and I think people focusing more on that and less on all the negativity that you can find in the news. It doesn't take much. You'll find it. Yeah. With elections and cases of corona and all of that stuff. Focus on improving yourself, whatever that means for you. Yeah. And when you do that, we'll come out of this and you'll be like, well, what did you do during the pandemic? Well, got certifications and all of these things. I started a new role with this. I launched my own business and everybody's like, I watched Netflix, so it's, and I'm not knocking Netflix, although their stock kind of got hit yesterday because they, surprise, there's a limit to the number of subscribers they can get apparently. So lessons learned. So Frank, I've loved our conversation today. Where can people find out more about you and this incredible work you do?
The best place to get a hold of me is through, I have a website that kind of points people to everything Frank Agin. It's frankagin.com, but my email's on there. It'll take you to my LinkedIn profile if that's your cup of tea, or Facebook. My podcasts are listed on there, so if people want to listen to those podcasts. People want to learn about AmSpirit Business Connections and the franchise opportunity we have, they can connect there as well. Just makes it simple for them to get a hold of me.
A one-stop shop is always helpful. Yep. So I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So Frank, great to talk with you again. Looking forward to continuing our conversation and continue to be well.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Breakfast Leadership Show, part of the Breakfast Leadership Network. Visit breakfastleadership.com for tips on empowering your business and your life.